have a friend who teases me about my makeup. She said, "Is there something wrong with your eye?" I said, "No, that's my eyeliner."
You know the feminist movement, right? Friedan, Daly, Millett. Radical dyke split from the straights a few years back. We're modeled on the Red Stockings, New York. Yeah, I'm a dyke. All my friends are dykes, except my cousin Connie. She can't commit.
I remember I went to this coming out meeting that was advertised in the Bay Guardian. So I went there, it was on Leavenworth Street, and I had to sort of escape from my parents' house or something, and it was all the old auditorium with wooden built-in seats, and it filled up with about 90 men. And I said, "This doesn't look good." They had big mustaches, you know, leather jackets, and me. I stood around with like 25 guys, and they talked about that they were, you know, upset that they were always judged on how they were hung.
I would say it was by that summer that we were trying to figure out still what our project was or what we were doing. It wasn't just about building the buildings, although we were trying to learn those skills and repair things. It was more about lesbian culture, what is it to be gay? We didn't even have the word queer in those days. And we knew one thing, that we didn't want men around. In the day, it was just better for us to be alone as coming out lesbians and figure out what we were, again, we had this thing about what we were supposed to do. I just have this memory of Canyon walking up. This beautiful young woman, she must have been 19, walking through, you know, kind of the garden and then up the hill, and just like a ray of sunlight.
It was 1978. I fell in with a group of young Asian American artists. Ray was the musician, jazz drummer, had his own trio. He was exactly my size and so mellow, it relaxed me to be around him. One day we were sitting on my porch at dusk, and the coral golden light fell on his forearm just a certain way so the veins glistened. You could almost see the blood course through the bulges in his arm. He had incredible musculature in his forearms from drumming. I felt this sexual pulse flash through my body. I was stunned, baffled, alarmed. I was gay.
I first met Canyon when she started coming down to Kearny Street Workshop when we were in the basement at the Justice Hotel in Chinatown. And I met her a few times there. But when Jenny and I started reading our works and decided to have a public presentation of our work, because we felt at that time that there weren't that many writers, especially Asian American writers, who were getting our voices out. And we wanted to concentrate on Chinese American women.
I had a warmth in my heart for old country China. Grandparents on both sides came from Guangzhou, old Canton, north of Hong Kong. And I grew up part of the year with my grandparents on my mom's side in Fresno, California. I see an explosion. A mass explosion. What's exploding is you. This will not be an ordinary journey. It will be a spiritual odyssey, a transformation like nothing you've experienced in this incarnation. By the way, are you going to Tibet? Tibet is completely lit up for you.
This person in Washington says, "Hi Canyon, have you seen this article in China Daily?" And he talks about how he hears this Chinese American writer, that's me. He's referencing this Chronicle book review I had. China is portrayed as materialistic, totalitarian, and repressed. But at that time, in 1986 when I was there, China had just opened. There were no stereotypes. Stereotypes are bred from familiarity, and China had been closed for decades.
I watched this construction site in Hunan. where 75 workers were crawling all over the mountainside like ants, digging out the rock to widen the road. When all of a sudden, way up high, this 10-foot round boulder broke loose, tumbled down, and crushed this minority woman worker with long braids and a long dress. Her Chinese co-workers sucked on their cigarettes, picked at the dirt with their shovels, looked right through her beseeching friends, pleading for help. They saw nothing, knew nothing, cared nothing, saw nothing, knew nothing, cared nothing.
Oh God, it's so ancient. It's pretty heavy. Just like, playbills and stuff like that. Cal State Humboldt, 1992. This is UC Santa Cruz. So my first trip to China was 86 to 87. And then I went back to Dharamsala and parts of Tibet and India, February 1990. I had a lot of great material from that trip. I took a class at a local theater known for doing solo performance, and in the class I created 2 pieces over the period of a few months. And the first piece was Taxi Karma, 25-minute long piece, sort of monologue. And then the second piece was about 40 minutes, and it was The Dissident, and it used all this material from this interview I did with a nun.
She was put in a room where she was attacked by police dogs. Then they made her stand all day. If she sat down, she got beaten. If she fell down, she got beaten. They manacled her arms and legs together and put her in solitary confinement. The next day, they photographed every part of her body. Her knees, and her ears, and her forehead, and her eyes, and her mouth, and her belly, and her hands, and her calves, and her toes. They investigated her private parts. She didn't even know a word for rape in Tibetan. She just said they took the cattle prods in and out over and over, and she couldn't control her bladder.
Before my trip, I think my motivation or my inspiration for writing was always around giving voice to those who didn't have voice and showing stories that weren't mainstream. For many years, my teacher, he had one of his precepts about vocation. It was kind of a guiding principle for many years, which was choose a vocation that helps you realize your ideal of compassion. After my trip, I think there was that added layer to my choices about writing.
Canyon has that ability to unabashedly to look at herself as she's telling us about the lives of other people. And it's a running thread throughout all her work. Like in The Dissident, she's a reporter, and you get a sense of what the reporter is feeling, but she's also reporting on this nun who was tortured. And certainly in Skytrain, it was the same thing, where she has many, many periods in that book where she's observing herself as she's reporting on or telling the stories of these women. So it's a very remarkable quality that not all of us do that. Some of us just report on a scene or tell somebody else's story, but we don't really bring ourselves into it. It's too intimidating. But Canyon has the courage to face herself.
I started out in China looking for the truth of my ancestors, and I found it in Tibet. Found myself working to help free Tibet from the grip of these Orwellian people who rule my ancestors' land. I started out in China looking for wisdom, and I ended up in Tibet working for justice. This is the story of my travels between China and Tibet, between wisdom and justice.
Actually, my name was not Carol Newhouse, it was Carol Osmer, and I changed it to Newhouse because I was coming out and I was going to a new house.
I had a dream one morning when I woke up. I had sort of this bird's eye view swooping over this beautiful canyon.
Gail said, "Stop calling her that. She has a new name, too." Canyon.
My friend, we were sleeping in the same cabin, we had a custom of sharing our dreams and so forth. And she knew I was looking for a name, and she said, "That could be your name."
What I remember is being in the kitchen, and I had to do the menu, right? And so I was saying, Sue, you know, she needs to do the spinach or whatever. I don't remember what it was. But I know Canyon had a certain kind of soup, I think with mushrooms or something, that she really liked to do. And so I remember saying, "Oh, and Canyon does the mushroom soup."
That could be my name. So I before the day was over, you know, by noon, I said, "That's it." So I've had it since I was 19.
Canyon. So strange. I said, "This is not a name. This is something on the road map."